All right, so welcome back. So the title of this unit is This Is Not This Anymore. So I've selectively removed things from the code so that I could highlight some things that you really need to learn when you start working with objects. And one of those is times where this is not what you expect. So what we're going to actually be doing is we're going to be adding features to the dice round controller. So right now your dice round controller, what it should be doing is it kind of manages this lower area. You can click to bring items up, and you can click to bring them back down. So these buttons in the middle are done. The score up here is done. But if you click roll again, nothing happens. And if you click stop, nothing happens. So we're going to implement these two buttons for roll again and for stop. And we're going to see some things that I want you to see in doing these exercises. So go ahead and open up your dice round controller. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start doing some to-dos in here. So there's a to-do near the top, just because it's something that I'm going to point out later. And what we've done here is we've passed in a round complete handler. So whoever makes this, what they really should do is they should pass in a function that we're going to call when there's a round complete. Now what we need to add is we want to save this off to an instance variable, right? So I've just made you go ahead and add this line of code. So we're just saving it off to an instance variable. Some people, when they make instance variables that are function, they add fn to the end just to distinguish that it's a function. In my slides, though, I didn't do that, so I won't do it here. All right, so that was to-do number one. That was pretty easy. Just save off that function that's passed in, and we're going to use that later, so keep that in your mind, as my daughter would say. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to implement the to-dos that are in the roll again button, and then the to-dos that are in the stop button. So in the roll again button, the things that we have to do is we have to call the function roll on the dice round instance variable. If we go looking for that instance variable, we can see that it's called dice round. So dice round, this is just a variable that we've got, and we need to call the function roll on that. So I'm going to do it kind of the way that you would natively do it if you're just doing this and didn't know better. You would say, hey, this dot dice round roll. So that was great. Then the next to do is call update all on the dice round controller instance. So I just need to call update all. So if you're doing other languages, this is exactly how you do it. This dot dice round, call roll on that, and then this dot update all, and we should call this update all function. Obviously, there's going to be little issues here. So let's go save it. Let's go see what happens. So right now, if I click on these, they still work like always. But if I click on roll again, nothing happened. Well, something did happen. You got an error in your console is what happened. And the error in your console says, cannot read property roll of undefined. And you click on it, and it says, hey, the problem is right here. And you're like, why is there a problem right there? I don't get it. So you set a breakpoint there, and then if you want to actually hit that breakpoint, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to click the button again. So if you want to, you can refresh. That's fine. Refresh was optional. And then when you hit stop this time, you can see it stops and it hits your breakpoint. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of look at the local variables when we hit this breakpoint. And the important thing is this, right? So if you say, what is this? It turns out that what this is a button element. So this, in this case, is an HTML element. And of course, you can't call dice round on it. So when we called dice round on it, we got undefined. And then we called roll on undefined. That's what gave us our error message that we saw earlier. And so that's the problem, is that this has changed. Other programming languages have this issue too. In that, if you're doing Java and you make it an anonymous inner class, this is no longer this. Same issue here. So this is the element that threw the event, right? That's just how JavaScript works, right? So this is fundamentally different inside this function, and saying this is the wrong way to do it. So we need a fix, right? So what we really want is we don't want this. We want, the dice round controller. There are numerous ways to fix this problem. There are some fancy ways with like the call function, and there are fancy ways with JavaScript's on function. The hacky way, there's nothing better about the other fancier solutions than kind of what I consider the simple way. And the simple way is just to save off this to a variable. what I like to do is I like to call it the same name as the class, but with a lowercase first letter. And so if I've saved off this, what I can do is anywhere where I would have typed this, instead I just type dice round controller. So what this does is it makes what's called a closure. So the idea of a closure is that this function is called later, but you can actually still use instance variables that were made earlier. So this uses a closure, and this is going to solve the problem. And this trick, where this is not this anymore, comes up all the time whenever you're doing classes with JavaScript. So you just need to be aware of it. So if we bring things back up, we bring up our program, you're going to need to take off your breakpoint. I mean, you can run it, and then when it hits your breakpoint, you can take it off then. Oh, it's like I lost my breakpoint already. So now what you can do is you can actually roll again. So every time I hit roll again, you can see the remaining die, they actually roll. If I go bust, I can click on next turn, except for next turn doesn't work yet because we haven't written that one, right? So we've actually succeeded in writing the roll again function, and it will roll again for us, which is fun. Ooh, made it around the horn that time. So let's go write the stop button so that we can actually keep some of these scores. So let's go look at the stop button, and we'll do it the wrong way first, and then we'll fix it, right? So it says, to do this, we need to call the round complete handler. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of protection code, and I'm just going to say, if the round complete handler exists, then call it. And so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to call it, and we're going to pass in to the round complete handler. Oops, I should have said this, which I know I'll have to fix. We have to pass in the get round score that comes from the dice round instance variable. So again, typing the word this, even though I know it has to change. So that's kind of the idea of the things we want to do. And then the other thing we have to do is we have to create a new dice round controller and set that to the instance variable. All right, we can do that. So when a new round begins, no shock, we have to create a new object for the dice round because we're going to start it over. If we'd made a function in it to just say reset, we could do that as well. But we're just going to create a new one because it's a fresh start. And then we're just going to call update all. So I'm just going to copy that from up here. And it's actually already got the fix for this, right? And in this case, anywhere where I see a this, like in code that I would have typed, I instead put in this closure for the instance object that you'd kind of expect to be this. So this would have been the done button, and you can't call functions on the done button. So we actually created our closure, and we implemented these things that way. So let's go see if this works. We should be able to finish the round, and it'll start a new round. It won't update the total score yet because that's a different controller. So if we come back over here, now we can put some numbers up here. So we're at 200, and then if I say stop, what that would do is that would send that 200 up to the total score, increment the round, and move on. We haven't written those other steps yet, so you can see that stop, all it does is it just creates a new round. So we're making good progress, but we're obviously not done yet because we need to do something to increment the total score. So that's it for this time. We've implemented these 2 buttons at the bottom, and we've learned a very important lesson about times where this is not this anymore. All right, see you next time when we start adding scores and whatnot.